So yesterday we are discussing about virtue ethics, right? So virtue ethics and human values are the only topics that are left in the part A or chapter 1, and one thing is conscience, like that one chapter is there. So there is no proper source, there is probably a Stanford document on the same. Again, what we have to do is we have to distill everything for UPSC purposes, right? We don't have to learn virtue ethics for philosophy sake, we have to learn virtue ethics for UPSC sake. So that's a huge distinction that you need to remember. Now, as I have told you yesterday, virtue ethics is not a framework, it's not a philosophy, it's not a lens for you to see the world at. Virtue ethics is all about the individual. An individual should develop the traits and character. Now, as you can see, Aristotle is the foremost proponent of the virtue ethics, or the most dominant character in the virtue ethics, at least in relation to UPSC. Because if you see happiness, there are questions about happiness, there are questions about rationality. So if there is ever a question about, only rational people can be ethical, you can understand it came from virtue ethics. Okay, the first and foremost trait of a virtuous person is rationality. Okay, every person have a rationality. Only rational people can be more or less ethical. But in divine commandment theory and other places, you don't have to be rational, right? It is said by God. God has said something and you will follow it. So that is what Aristotle also says. The ultimate goal is happiness. The best life possible is what is virtue ethics suggests, right? If you take Socrates, if you take Aristotle, Plato, everybody suggests the same thing. How to live a better, happy and more fulfilling life. So that fulfilling life is what? How do we define that fulfilling life? Again, it's a subjective term, right? Everybody have its own definition. So Aristotle gave this concept of eudaimonia. So it means it's a state, it's a zone. It's like that moksha concept, but not exactly moksha. It's like that happiness zone, right? By being in this particular state, okay, you are having a fulfilled life, you are having a full life. Okay, in simplistic terms, if I say today's terms, ikigai, I mean, for understanding sake, we can bring in ikigai concept. Ikigai is a Japanese concept, right? Where a man is, or a person is happy from multiple dimension. You must have heard about ikigai. No, the book or the concept itself? No? Okay, don't worry. How to have a happy, healthy and balanced life is ikigai. So more or less you can link happiness, right? Happiness can be anything. It's not only about materialistic things. Now, as we have discussed yesterday, there are enough loopholes in the virtue theories. Virtue ethics, virtue suggestions. So what is virtue ethics? It is an act which is morally right just because it is done by a virtuous person in a given situation. Now, let's say a particular situation has arrived. You are a virtuous person. Okay, Sharat Chandra is also a virtuous person, Srinidhi and Hare Krishna, all three are virtuous persons. Okay, will all three of them act the same in the same situation? Should they act? Ideally speaking, they should all have the same kind of reaction. But will they act in the same way? No. No, right? So tomorrow when you become a district collector, you will face a similar situation which is faced by many other collectors. Okay, so what difference is there between your decision and others' decisions? See, I am expanding it beyond virtue ethics, right? Because rules, laws, frames, everything will be same. You are all working for government of India. Rules and regulations are same. You are all trained same. You all cleared the same exam. You are all in the same post. Everything same. You are supposed to be a virtuous person. So what is the difference between your decision and others' decisions? Say for example, a hypothetical scenario. A village in your district is under floods from last 3 days. Okay, and there is only one helicopter. At the same time, vice president or someone is coming to your particular district, you need the helicopter for other purposes, or there is something else. For example, there is a fire somewhere else. You can imagine, right, two contradictory scenarios. Okay, so but you can use a helicopter once. So what is the one thing that actually separates you from the others? So you are a virtuous person, right? You will take a right decision. What is the right decision here? To send the helicopter to the village where they are under floods from last 3 days without food and water, electricity. Yes, everybody staying on the roofs from last 3 days. No medicine, no food. People are scared. On the other hand, you have more or less a similar scenario. How do you, or what decisions do you take? If it is a public meeting or something, it's a black and white decision. It's easy to take the particular call. Let's say there is a forest fire. Then so all such places, that is where your courage comes into picture, right? There is an ad. I think few years ago it used to run. A police officer is standing in front of India Gate and all the traffic is barricaded. A ambulance is stuck in the traffic jam and a young constable allows the ambulance to go, breaching the protocol. Yes or no? So what actually is the difference in that particular constable's case and the rest of the officer's case? Yes, so we can say virtue, right? It's courage is a virtue. So courage is a very, very important thing. At the same time, he's not being stupid enough to allow a movie actor's car, right? He's allowing a ambulance. He's taking the right decision in that given situation. Situation also plays a huge role in the virtue ethics. So that is one subtle difference you have to remember. Again, we are not judging the action. Please remember, in virtue ethics, I am not deciding whether what he has done is a good thing or a bad thing. Why he has done is he is a virtuous person. Because he is a virtuous person, acting in character. What is the character here he chose? To be courageous. A virtuous person acting in character. So that acting in character means if you are a virtuous person, you have certain fixed traits. So it's more like a rule. Yes or no? Say, yeah, we will discuss. All of you are able to understand, right, the difference between virtue ethics and the other schools of philosophies. Here, you and your character are the king. Like, they are the most important things. Virtue person acting in a character. Now, why is this important for UPSC perspective? Because when you write a case study, okay, you have to take a courageous decision. Yes, if I say, in the school, if you think about it, when the teacher turns, someone makes a comment or someone throws something, the teacher will say, who is it? Most of us choose to be silent, but the topper as usual will be a rat. Okay, but the thing is, someone will be there taking the right decision, but others may not accept or understand that particular decision. Yes or no? Then is that person wrong? Going by our own school wisdom, our own practical life example, okay, that person who tells the teacher everything is the villain. Yes or no? We hate him unless you are that person. Okay, so right? So yeah, yes or no? But to be honest, that is the right thing to do. Yes. So when you join a government department, you will face a similar cases, right? Everybody will be taking the corruption. You won't be taking the bribe. Actually, nothing is more scarier than a honest IAS officer or a honest officer in any level. He doesn't take the bribe. That means he will probably rat us out. Yes or no? So your colleagues don't want you in the department. First of all, your colleagues themselves don't want you in the department. Why? All of them are happy sharing the spoils, but you don't want to take the money. Then are you wrong? They don't invite you to parties. They won't take you to any place. You are like an outcast. Will you survive? That is where the virtue ethics come into the picture, right? That is where you take the stand and you are still happy with it. Yes? See, your colleagues might be buying new buildings, better cars in the name of their wives, so on and so forth. So many things will be happening. But the thing is, you should be happy or content with your own salary. Yes? What is that Junior NTR movie where he's a corrupt cop? Temper, right? So there is a scene where Posani Krishnamurli's character is portrayed very nicely. He knows he's having a bag of 40 lakhs or something in his house, but his daughter asks him for 20,000 rupees or 1 lakh rupees for college fees, and he still says, we don't have the money. That kind of conviction comes only from character. Nothing else in the world can stop him if he decides to be corrupt. All the ethics textbooks, all the rules, regulations, second RC report, fourth report, everything will be a total waste unless you decide to be a ethical person. And that courage comes from what you believe in. Only when you believe something so deeply that it will protect you. Yes or no? So, but remember, being virtuous is not enough to have a happy and successful life. That is also equally true. For example, Vijay Mallya, antithesis to everything we can discuss. Yes or no? Malaya, okay, Vijay Mallya. So Karnataka people proud, okay, fine. Yes, Malab? No. So we have an icon from Karnataka, right? So he is not virtuous, but still he is having a happy life, rich life, better life than most honest people. So what incentive do I have to be honest? Why should I be honest? See, Aristotle told, like, if you are happy, if you are virtuous, you will reach eudaimonia, you will be like in a better place. Okay, but so many correct people are also happy, right? Doesn't that bother you? So what motivation do you have to stay honest?
Contribution towards society. Being a virtuous person or ethical person, someone will take example from us and learn, replicate in the future, which are better than
concise kicks in. So
Conscience kicks into the picture. If I had that, I wouldn't do the thing in the first place, right? Probably. Maybe religious. God will be watching. 10% donation to God. God is not watching. I asked him to turn around. There is this famous Telugu movie like Raja. They steal this money from a particular place. They draw a circle and they throw. Whatever is in the circle is mine, outside is yours. Okay, so you can always make deals with God, right? Because the judgment of God doesn't come immediately, or you may not notice it.
So can we say that decisions gives a larger good for larger people in the long term? So our religious texts, what are the things are like kept it as a virtual or moral things in that?
Let's say at 11 in the night, I'm going in this junction. Okay, there is a red signal. There is no traffic constable. There is no traffic also. If I stop, is it making any difference?
But if I cross, that behavior continues.
For me, right? If I had the consciousness, I will always stop. If I don't have the conscience, that is when the problem comes in. See, you said my actions will have implications or spillover effects onto the society. I'm telling you at the middle of the night, 11 a.m., if I do something, what implications will it have on the society?
That I told that long term. That moment it may not affect. But
Nobody will ever know.
So in the longer run, if I carry the same behavior, it's like in the year itself. Afternoon time, okay, nothing will happen right at that moment. Like if I cross the same way, if nothing happens, I can easily cross it.
So let's say you are in an office room. Okay, tomorrow you have become a big officer. I came to you, Vallabh, I am constructing some apartment or something. Okay, you take this much amount of money and please give the permission. You will say, sir, out of respect, I am not scolding you. I am a very honest IAS officer. Okay, meet me in the evening. Okay. Okay, no jokes apart. You said you rejected. Okay, then nobody will ever know.
I think they will know.
Who?
Like the second party who is getting rejected.
I am.
Yes.
Uh,
Like,
I can't come and teach into the classes, right? The other day I was
but
with.
he'll say to the other people like, you don't go to that officer because like he's an honest person. So this thing spreads within even the corrupt and also the honest people.
Exactly true. What will happen, you know, in that meeting? How to transfer Vallabh?
So that's only for Sangli and
All the builders, all the contractors will sit together and they will pull some money and they will talk to Vallabh's superior. How to transfer Vallabh? Okay, you take this amount of money and kick him out. Bring in someone better.
There are tribunals to do.
No, why? How will he know? Promoted and transferred.
There must be some reason like
Why?
Karnataka
Unit
is-
again, it's purely discretion of government, right? If that was the case, Ashok Khemka would not have been transferred 54 times, and you know, TN Session would not have been transferred 6 days, six times in same day. Yes, the minister came to know TN Session in our department. Please lobby transfer. The weakest minister got him, the Election Commission of India. No minister, right? There is no minister to lobby for election commission, so that is why he settled finally there. But that is the biggest mistake politicians of India have done. Yes. So, no, what I am trying to tell you is, you don't do it for anything else. You do it for your character. That is your character. You are a virtuous person. You are acting in character. That is the only benchmark. It's not about spillover effects. It's not about sending a message to the society. It is what you are. If every IAS officer is a rational person, he is also a virtuous person. If he is a virtuous person, he will act in character. What is that character? To be honest. Yes or no? So it is not like the consequentialism or utilitarianism. We are not thinking about others. In a situation, you are a virtuous person. What is the decision? Yes? Clear? Yes, Sharad? Still not understood?
It's like if a person is virtuous in nature, he will get some negative repercussions from the society. But then when the crisis situation comes in, he is the person who is being dependent on. For example, there is a flood situation. Rather than a corrupt official, even a minister on all those humanitarian grounds, we would want one person on whom we can actually depend, who will get the things right and those kind of things.
Again, two things here. Corrupt people are not inefficient. That is not a premise we are taking. Okay, we are not saying by default all corrupt people are inefficient. Sometimes somebody has to be very smart to be corrupt, manage things and get things done. Okay, sometimes only because you are very good, like you know how to manage the system, like morally or otherwise, you can get things done better than the honest people. Okay, for example, Ministry of Road and Transport. India is achieving world records in laying maximum number of kilometers per day, and that is probably the best performing post ministry in the entire government. Yes, so I am not saying he is corrupt. I am saying that he knows how the system works. Making system work is also very, very important. Next, as rightly pointed out by you, being virtuous is not an easy task. It takes a huge toll from you, and you are still should be willing to go for it. For example, if you take Mahatma Gandhi, yes, he went on to fast unto death because he is a virtuous person. He is acting in character. He is fighting some injustice, whether in South Africa or in India. In front of his eyes, there is something wrong. So he is acting in character given in that situation. So we can cite again Khemka, right? So he is transferred so many times. I am not saying that others are not honest. There are degrees of honesty. It's always in layers, right? Okay. Now such people are called as moral exemplars. That is the exact term he uses. The term is moral exemplars. Exemplar example. Moral exemplars. So when you write, sometimes the ethical jargon or ethical terminology, it will be very nice. So yesterday same topic we have discussed more role models, right? Role models are moral exemplars. Someone who sets a fine examples and serve as a role model for the rest of us.
Sir, does Aristotle's theory say that if you are virtuous, you are happy?
No, it promotes the concept that if you are rational, if you develop that virtuous characters, you will reach that stage. It's a destination. So why it is important for a civil servant? See, again, as you can understand, virtual ethics is ethical pluralism. Why pluralism? Different people, different standards. Yes or no? But they all believed in objective standards of morality. I did not choose a particular decision out of my whims and fancies. I chose it with objectivity. According to me, I have some logic. Yes or no? Say for example, you are walking on the road. Suddenly you saw a baby, a trolley, right? Baby in a trolley, and it is rolling down. Why do you stop it? Because are you a virtuous person? Or that is something you do naturally when you see someone is in danger?
Act is virtuous, but it comes out of the character.
See, that is the same line, right? You are a virtuous person acting in character. So you don't want someone else to get hurt. So you are doing what is right as per you. Okay, the same thing. So objective standard. My objective standard says that children should be saved. For example, you are walking on a road. Okay, you saw someone in a lane robbing someone of a mobile phone. There is a very famous YouTube meme, right? A guy, two people are driving on a bike, and one person is standing talking on a phone. The other person shows a gun, and you give the cell phone and walk away, right? You saw someone getting mugged or some chain snatcher pulling a chain. Okay, you are a virtuous person, so you are acting in character. What will you do? You saw someone getting chain snatched in a road, and you are also walking on that road. That lady is screaming for help. There are two men with knives in the hand. Okay,
Actions are not codified, right? Like they have to behave in this way only.
no, that is what I'm asking. You are a all of you are virtuous people, right? Any non-virtuous people apart from me? Okay, fine. All of you are virtuous. Fine. So Vallabh, what will you do? You are in a road, you are in a street. God. You are here, the victim is here. Two people are robbing that particular woman. Okay, what is your reaction? X is you, woman, robber 1, robber 2.
We also
Again, see, please remember, these are all called as moral puzzles or ethical puzzles. They are not directly asked in UPSC, but you need to understand why you are doing what you are doing. So let's say Vallabh is a virtuous person. Vallabh, what will you do?
Sir, if I'm physically strong than those people,
You know, right? You are physically strong or not? You assume.
compared to those people, if they're
Obviously, robbers will be decent enough.
then I'll be, I'll record because.
No, I won't go for robbing, right? Obviously, I know I can't go for robbing. I and Nihar, right? Both of us cannot be robbers, no matter how hard we try. Then
If I help her, that moment itself it may not be justified because
what will you do?
I'll record or I'll make a video, I'll call immediately police and they'll be investigating the things. Then
Yes. Aditya, what will you do?
if we note down the number of the
Bike or
may
something.
also be stolen.
Hmm,
There is a
hmm.
chance of that also. And we'll alert the crowd in front of the people. Like
You'll start shouting like that. Okay. Yes, Chakri,
That's what I
what will you do?
probably I would shout so that everyone comes there.
Okay. Fine.
They may panic.
They may panic.
robbers can
Okay.
They may run away, we shout or
So, good thing only, right?
they may run away. The women,
However, women will be in loss, right? They will steal the
She's
life.
okay. I kind of understand. Yes.
So first dial an emergency number and then shot.
First dial an emergency number, then shop. Watching Hollywood movies. Okay. Yes. Deepti?
Driving around but scared and
Okay. Yes. Nihar? Yes, why? Why can't we just walk away? That is also an option, right? Adi kuda oka option.
The second thing,
Yes.
inner conflict, that the guilt that
There will be some guilt for you, but you are alive. She is alive, probably.
she's alive, but she has lost and I couldn't do anything in that situation. Watching.
Probably you both right. They have guns. They shot both of you. Then you die trying. Okay. For a random stranger. No? Will you really? Maybe. Okay, fine.
We don't know what we'll try our level best to
Hmm. Hmm. For a random stranger, you will be willing to put your life at risk.
Ultimately, we'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know whether
Hmm.
that will happen or not, the other circumstances, but
Hmm.
trying on our part is
Hmm.
first
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm. Lastly, Santosh.
I will mostly, I will try to scare away them. I mean, like, according what, if public comes, then I can stop or prevent something like that. But if public don't come, I cannot.
You'll shout and move in the opposite direction. Okay, then that is what I will do. By yeah. That is the most commonsensical thing for me to do. Because I will shout and I will run in the opposite direction. Then, is it wrong? Is it wrong?
But it depends on who you are.
Hmm.
If you are just a common man or if you are a public functionary, then you are bound to help them.
Hmm.
You have to save yourself first.
Even if you are a constable, they are the goons with guns and you are a constable with a lathi, then you will also take a calculated decision, right? That is where the golden mean comes into the picture. You are not too stupid to run towards them with a lathi. At the same time, you are not coward enough to run away. The golden mean is what you do. So golden mean according to you is what? For someone, calling the police is a golden mean. Yes, for someone trying to scare away them is a golden mean. So in this very class only, we cannot establish a proper golden mean and a benchmark. That is a problem with the entire argument. But at the same time, morally wise person wholeheartedly does the right thing. So if you are X in that particular point, if you are doing everything that you feel like doing, then you are a virtuous person. But you thought you were a virtuous person, you learned all the ethics, etc., etc. But when the situation came, you just drove by, okay, as if nothing has happened, or you take a U-turn. Then you haven't wholeheartedly believed whatever you have preached. Are you clear? So now this is a common moral dilemma or ethical dilemma you see throughout your life. In front of your eyes, some injustice will always be happening. So what decision will you take given in a given situation is the biggest challenge as an individual, whosoever you may be. And level of degrees vary. For a common man, it is one problem. For an IAS officer, it is of a different kind. For a chief minister, it is of a different kind. Even for prime minister, it is of a different kind. Yes or no? For example, if you are a chief minister, okay, your cabinet ministers will be blackmailing you or they will be doing some corruption. If you pull them, your government will fall. If you let them stay, they will do more and more corruption. What will you do? That is the dilemma, right? That is the moral challenge you have to understand. You are an IAS officer, you know you deserve the promotion, but one of your colleagues have done a lot of lobbying, lot of immoral things to get that particular promotion, and he is going to destroy the organization, and literally there is nothing that you can do. Yes or no? So remember, virtuous people cannot always do the right things, no matter how hard they try. Yes or no? In this position, the most, like the movie thing we want to do is kick them both and say beat you up, kill you both, or they just walk away. Anything can happen, right? And these are possibilities we cannot even imagine because we don't know the psychological profile of the robber or the desperateness they are in or the experience they have. Yes, I hope you understand. Now, so what happens when a morally wise person does the right thing? He wholeheartedly knows that he has done the best possible thing, and there will be relatively less inner conflict. As Santosh was mentioning or Nihar was mentioning, I know I have at least tried, so there will be less inner conflict. Or else when you came home, you will be thinking the same thing again and again. For example, you saw a visually challenged person crossing a road. Yes, it's a simple thing. You wanted, what is the most virtuous thing that a virtuous person will do? He will stop the bike or he will start helping them to cross the road. But you assumed someone will help and you moved on. Okay, if you have conscience, there will be some inner conflict. I should have stopped. What was my hurry? Right? So these small dilemmas reflect your true character. If you didn't feel, even think, like after going home you didn't even think about, okay, I should have stopped, then you don't have a deeply ingrained moral wisdom. Yes or no? I hope you understand a very simple and real life example, right? Moral wisdom. And by helping people, it gives me a lot of pleasure. I do it for the sake of its own thing. I am not doing it to send a message or anything, at least in virtue ethics, right? I am doing it for the sake of doing it. So let's say you are a student. What does a virtuous student do? Read dedicatedly towards securing a particular grade or something. Yes or no? So if you are doing that, then you are enjoying the process. That quality is what differentiates you from the rest of the crowd. Right. Now quickly we will move on to some topics. Okay. Now, as you know, moral wisdom is always in degrees. This example, degree, right? Everybody have a different degree. I have a different degree. Degree means levels of moral wisdom. So where does moral wisdom come from? Earlier you were in similar experience, right? You learn from experience, you learn from emotional maturity, you learn from reflection, training, emotional intelligence, and to an extent intellectual maturity. We can apply the same things, right? Experience. Have you ever been in a mugging situation earlier? If yes, you know how it feels. If no, totally something new. Emotional maturity. They have knives. Okay, I have just seen a Bruce Lee movie or a Jackie Chan movie. Okay, I can kick them. So you have to have that emotional maturity, right? Yes or no? Next, at the same time, you also need to think about your own family members. Yes, and you have to calculate losing gold or losing life. Which is more valuable? Yes. Then you do reflection. I mean, reflection is not in that situation. Reflection is something that creates you, right? You develop moral wisdom through reflection by thinking again and again on the same decisions. Let's say you have walked away. That will also through reflection make you a morally wise person. Next time if I see a visually challenged person, I will make sure I will stop my bike and help them. So reflections will help you to become a morally wise person. So nobody is judging you here, but if you don't become a better person, then probably you are not a virtuous person, right? Training and practice. Either you are skilled in developing that, not the karate. Okay, we are not talking about kung fu and all those things. We are practicing about being virtuous. Yes. Emotional intelligence. Let's say the woman is screaming for help and the robbers started talking to you. The robbers started talking to you. Don't scream, we will kill her or something. Then you skillfully negotiate with them. Okay, take the gold and leave. You negotiate. You don't be a hero, right? Kill her. Who is she? She is a stranger to me. You don't provoke them, right? You don't poke the bear in the eye. Yes or no? So that kind of emotional intelligence is what makes you
What's the difference between
maturity and emotionally intelligence. You taking the right decision in which sense? Like, is it worth taking the risk? Am I strong enough? So you do a lot of calculations, right? Am I feeling fear? Am I be able to react quickly? So am I reacting wrongly? See, sometimes I might say a word which is that is emotional maturity. Emotional intelligence is me manipulating them. Yes, I'm trying to pacify them. I am trying to convey them. See, emotional maturity is I decided to start talking to them. Okay, emotional intelligence is I decided how to convey to them that it's okay. There are no CCTV cameras, nobody is watching. Take the gold and leave. Leave the lady alone. Yes, that is something you can do. Yes. And to an extent, intellectual maturity. So if when all these things come together, you become a better person. Your moral wisdom will increase. Are we clear? Yes, very simple and straightforward, right? No explanations needed. This also applies to your civil servants, civil services, and every place else, right? Civil. This is how common sense are. This is what we call as collectively common sense. Yes or no? So every person have a rationality. How does we develop rationality? By using all these things. Clear? Now, coming back to the virtuous ethics case, as I told you, virtuous persons or virtual people does not by default are happy, or by having virtues you cannot do the right things all the time. Yes, so that is what we call as tragic dilemmas. I am a virtuous person, it doesn't guarantee that I will be happy throughout my life, and at the same time I will take the right decisions all the time. So what does the theory say? When I take a decision, it will be good. Yes or no? Read the case. It's from a movie, but it's a very famous hypothetically. All of you are virtuous people, right? So imagine you are Sophie. You are the Sophie now. You have to choose a choice. I am the God as usual. I am the right. I am the personification of non-virtuous. Everything you can think of. Okay. Chakri, you are the Sophie. Then what will you do? That is the case, right? To live or die? To live. Okay. Sorry? Bye today. Okay, you will choose the girl's life to be saved. Okay, fine. Dark Knight. There are so many places where you can apply this, but it came in a very old. Even in Telugu movie, there is one Mahesh Babu movie. I don't know which name. Amrita Rao, Mahesh Babu. Atiti, yes. In Atithi also there is a Sophie's choice, right? You have to choose either one, the other will die. Again, Sophie's choice is different from Hobson's choice. In Hobson's choice, you are only given one option, but here you are actually having a tragic dilemma. There is no good outcome whatsoever. There is nothing good that is going to come out of this. That is why it is called as a tragic dilemma. And again, remember, it's a moral puzzle. It won't be asked in UPSC, but it makes you a better person. So, on what parameters, if you are Sophie, if you are the mother, again, that is something which we cannot understand unless we are a parent, right? So, we have to assume hypothetically, and love of that particular person is whole different level. So, girl and a boy, hypothetically of ages 8 and 7. Yes, you have to make a choice. If you don't make a choice, both of them will be killed. That is even cruel choice. So now, being a virtuous person, what rationality can Sophie bring into this discussion? What is the good decision she can take by her virtues? What is your thought process? That is, you will choose one, right? But what is your thought process? Why that person? Just imagine.
Our thought process is different, like from parent perspective, it's completely out of love, but we come out of rational.
So again, that is why in any case you have to choose one, right? Either rationality or as love.
But we come from like
Exactly.
age parameters or like gender parameters. We come out of those situations.
But for her, it is like purely emotional standpoint of view, and it is a very, very tough decision. And the even more saddest part is she has to live with that consequence for the rest of her life. She knows what she has done, and should she be blamed for the consequence? Is she responsible for the death of the child? Instead of choosing one, we can allow them, both of them, to die, right? Like it's an even bigger burden. Because every time I look at the surviving kid, probably it will remind me of the thing.
We can also think like this, at least one kid has survived.
One kid has survived, so that is a good outcome. But that is not a good outcome, right? Yes, Sharad?
You also have to see the possibility that the surviving kid is living in this Nazi era. Even his future is bleak.
But he will survive. At least that guilt is not on me.
So surviving is one thing, and surviving in a very bad environment is also one thing. You don't want your child to grow up in a very bad environment.
So let them both die. Extremely rational. That is what I told you, right? When you have a kid, when you have that emotional attachment for, let's say, 7 or 8 years, they are the life. They are your entire life for 7 or 8 years, almost a decade. Then making that choice is like gut wrenching. We cannot even imagine like 1% right now. Yes or no? See, why when you are a kid, you befriend a street dog or something, or any pet, you develop some attachment. You feel bad about it, right? In the same sense, when you are giving birth to a child and you love them like anything for a decade, and then they are taken away by your own choice. Okay, what hell she must have gone through. Okay, that makes us better humans, right? Like by going through ethical puzzles, ethical moral puzzles, we understand the different point of views. Okay, we can throw in the same example, right? Vijay Mallya example. Why is he happy while so many virtuous people are when so many virtuous people are not happy? What can we do about that? Are they actually happy?
According to them, happiness is subjective.
Yes, happiness. Again, he might be fearing everyday jail, right? He know he is not, like, he may do all the physical activities like like a happy person, but subconsciously he is not totally happy, just like a honest person. The guilt won't be there, right? That is more than enough. Sometimes all you need is a peaceful sleep. All the money in the world cannot buy you such kind of freedom and choices. So that is what virtue ethics people will argue or they promote. Now, yesterday I have asked you a similar questions, right? Are people virtuous because they perform right actions, or actions are right because virtuous people performed them? Yesterday in divine commandment theory, I told you the similar example. Is it good, that is why God recommended, or is it God recommended, that is why it is good? But common sense dictates it is good, that is why everybody has to follow it. Either God recommends only good things, or we promote only good things. And we did not come to this objective criteria overnight, right? We are not saying saving a life is a bad thing. We know saving a life is good thing, because there is always pain. When you lose someone you love, you know that pain. So over generations of time, societies collectively came together and realized saving life is a good thing, and it is a virtuous thing. Now, if you remember, I told you in the determinants of ethics, when your father treats you irrationally, one day he is slapping you for the same thing, the other day he is not slapping you, then there is no consistency. When there is no consistency, there is no rational judgment. In the same way, in virtue ethics, what happens is, when you may or may not have a good reason, see, to save that woman, when you may or may not have a good reason to save that woman, it is very arbitrary. Whenever there is arbitrariness, there is no morality. If I have to make a virtue, or if I have to create a moral standard out of that particular action in that woman's case, okay, what will be that? See, I ran away, someone called police officer, someone tried to fight, so everybody is having their own reason. We cannot call my reason as bad reason and his reason as good reason. When we are doing this, it is arbitrary. Yes or no? Arbitrariness does not lead to morality. But if everybody is doing the same thing in the same situation, then it is getting the societal acceptance, and that is morality. Right? Clear? No confusions, right? Any questions from this particular virtue ethics thing? Yes?
But then sometimes there can be some virtues which are better than the societal morality virtues. I mean, for example, taking the same example, most of us thought that okay, we will create some other police. Someone is capable enough actually dies and protects the own family. So that's a courage.
Then is it moral? Then we can say, let's say there is so good standard, like she said, like, I will dial 911 or 111. What is India's 112? 100. There is a new standard number, right? Emergency number. Okay. Relativism. Everybody dial different number. Whichever works, we will decide. Okay. But there is a new emergency number for India. Yes. So you need to know that anyhow. Okay. So that is what I am saying. We don't even bother about the number, because we know nobody is going to dial it, right? So we watched so many Hollywood movies, we know 911. Okay. And by mistake we might start dialing 911. Okay. Right. So so coming to the point, what I am trying to tell you is, if the system is established, if the societal standards are so good, if I dial 100 and a response will be immediate, we all will develop the same morality that if I see someone in danger, I will first try to dial 100 and then try to negotiate if need be. Right? So that's, if there is no standard, then there is arbitrariness. That is what leads to the problems. Clear? Again. Now, why did we discuss all these things? Is because virtue ethics is one that particular characteristic trait which is very deeply should be ingrained into a civil servant. Only that is what helps you at the end, right? So we can also link it to Indian ethos, that is Sheelam Paramabhushanam. Character is everything. Character is always appreciated in Indian culture. And a charactered person is always respected and appreciated anywhere and everywhere. Yes or no? Why? A charactered person doing any act will be celebrated and appreciated, and it will become a moral exemplar. Yes or no? A person who doesn't have a character, even if he is sitting in a high position, nobody will respect him. Yes or no? For example, recently a corruption has increased in the politicians. Number of MPs and MLAs with criminal cases are increasing. There is a very famous MP in Andhra Pradesh, like famous for alcoholism and all those things. So nobody actually respects him. Why? Even though he is an MP, nobody bothers about him, because character is everything. Sometimes in the field, an IAS officer with character is more feared than his efficiency. Yes or no? So you get things done just because of your virtue. You are there. Say for example, Sridharan is there. There is no discussion of corruption in Delhi Metro. Yes or no? Trains used to run on time. Everybody used to listen to him. When the politicians, everybody used to say, okay, if it is Sridharan, it's a deadlock. There is no negotiation. Don't even come to me to tell what to tell to Sridharan. Yes or no? That is his character. That character had made the entire institution efficient in a different way. Or else there will always be political and other influences. When a minister knows that you are untouchable, he doesn't even try to lobby. Yes or no? Where does that come from? That strength comes from your character, right? Not your post. If that was the case, all IAS officers should be untouchable. All IPS officers should be untouchable. But it is your character that differentiates and puts a different benchmark. Yes or no? See, again, in today's world, to go against the chief minister of a particular state, you need to have a lot of courage, conviction, and belief in your own moral righteousness. You should not even give 1% of scope for people to fail. Yes, Lakshmi Narayanan, that IPS, right, Maharashtra cadre IPS, CBI head. Yes, so people try to tarnish his image so much, but it is his character that protected him. So even in today's world, virtue ethics are very, character is very important. Are we clear? Quickly, last 5 minutes, we will discuss a very simple concept known as natural law ethics. Don't worry about it, nothing to learn. Just a simple concept called as natural law ethics. So it is not about ethical legalism. Please remember, we are not going to discuss laws. It's a very simple concept given by Thomas Aquinas. Okay, he says there are two kinds of laws. One is eternal laws or divine command theories. What? Laws of God. Then there are human laws, laws made by humans. But there is the most important concept called as natural laws. Natural laws are universal moral laws and standards of divine origin. They are given by God, but we need to apply human reason for them to work. They are called as natural laws. See, there is divine laws, eternal laws. Okay, there are human laws, but there are some natural laws which are created by God but has to be applied by human through his own reasoning. They are natural laws. See, all he is doing is adding that moral authority without any discussion. If I say God, we can negotiate. If it is human, we can negotiate. But he is saying use rationality plus divine power. This is what more religious doctrines say. Yes or no? If you observe most of the religious doctrines, they are in this category. God has said this, but this is why you have to do. I am satisfying both the criteria. I am satisfying divine criteria and your rational criteria. Are we clear? Say for example, if somebody dies, you are not supposed to go to their home for 14 days or something, right? So they will add that religious value in like it's a divine theory. In so and so book, it was mentioned like this. Okay, that is divine. Then rationality. Probably I will rationally tell you that contagious diseases must be there. So if you maintain that quarantine, 14-day quarantine, that is helping you. So both divine and human laws, magic plus logic, both are satisfied, then there is no argument for you left to criticize it or discuss about it. Yes or no? So what do natural laws do? Natural laws make man follow God's plan in a more profound way. Like if I say it's only God's path, an atheist may not follow, or some other people may not follow, or people may not follow it in a logical fashion. So when I throw both rationality and divine power into it, you will do God's work in a more proper sense. Okay, but natural law is not for everyone. Not everybody can follow natural law. Why? Either they don't believe in God, or either they are not rational. Okay, so natural law leads to natural reasoning. Obviously, when I say that you don't have to go to his home because it's quarantine, then you are automatically following that natural reason. So whatever you do is good or bad. So if you are doing good, it will become, you are actually following the eternal law, that God's law. But Thomas Aquinas also says there is one concept, that there is one God. There is only one God. So there is only one natural law. There is one God, one natural law. Everybody must follow that law. Actually, nobody follows this, or nobody uses this as a template, right? None of us will ever use this as a template. So we don't have to learn about it, but just in worst case scenario, what is natural law? What is the advantage here? See, if I directly say God said this, you are not going to follow, right? By adding reason to it, I'm making you do a choice, like good or bad. By doing it, indirectly making you follow the God's will. Divine commandment theory, right? If I directly say God said this, God said don't go to someone else's home for 10 days. Okay, people will start debating. If I make it into your own reasoning, God said plus use your own reason, then you are doing it. When you are doing it, what is ultimately succeeding? God's commandment only, right? Indirectly, I am making sure that God is correct, but through reasoning. Okay, there is no scenario where you will use this, so don't try to wrap your head too much around this. Just remember natural law, Thomas Aquinas. God said something, use your reason. So God is correct, your reasoning is correct, then automatically you will do something correct.
Natural law, like firstly it is first logical thinking. Before transforming into natural law, it's previously logical thinking which transformed into natural law, and it ultimately modifies itself into divine command thinking at last.
No. Opposite is true. God said something, in the sense some collective wisdom decided this is good, that is religious doctrine. I am applying rationality to prove that religious doctrine is correct. Okay, then it becomes a benchmark for everybody to follow. Okay, see, if I directly say don't cut the trees, the same sacred groves example, right? Sacred groves examples can be natural law example. If I directly say don't cut the trees, okay, you are not understanding the rationality. If I say only God said this, then also you are not applying the rationality. What am I doing? I am mixing the divine plus rationality. Yes, God said trees are sacred. If I cut trees indiscriminately, that is going to hamper my livelihood choices. So I mixed them both. Then that has become a reasoning, natural reasoning for everybody in the community. It has become the morality. So maintaining sacred groves is a moral obligation on the community itself. The community understands it in rational and divine fashion. Both, right? See, if I remove the reasoning part, do you think sacred groves would have survived for 2500 years? No, they also understand because the trees are there, we get all the products, honey, etc., etc. So we are surviving. So livelihood plus God, both survived. That is why it is a good thing. And indirectly I am saying that is the will of the God. Because I respected God and reasoning, God is protecting me. Dharma rakshate rakshata.